What's up guys, my name is Andre and welcome to a new video. We're back here on the Honda, and on the last video I said that this bike was actually a 150 when I got it. It wasn't, it was just because of the aftermarket exhaust and the fact that it's got no air filter. The air box is completely empty. Now, since then, I have taken this engine to a rebuild shop where I have opened the bore 3.5 millimeters. So it went from a 125 to a 160, pretty much. And the thing is, because I didn't change anything on the head, the compression ratio skyrocketed, pretty much. So now, the original compression ratio of this bike was 9.5 to 1. Now it's running 1175 to 1, which is ridiculous. And because of that, I'm going to take the plunge and I'm going to convert this bike to run on E100. In Brazil, the cleanest gasoline that we have, the cleanest, I mean the one that's got the least gasoline, is just the standard gasoline that we have in here, which is E25. It varies from month to month. You know, it varies between E22 to E27, but usually it's E25. 90% of cars produced today in Brazil can actually run on 100% ethanol, or E100. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to install these. Now, the original jetting of this bike was 95 main jet and 38 pilot jet. Now, because we're going to be using this on pure ethanol, absolutely pure ethanol, we're going to be using a 125 main jet and a 48 idle jet. So it's a bit bigger, and hopefully, just hopefully, the bike will run okay with it. I'm really hoping that it will run okay. I'm just not sure. So let's go ahead. We'll take the carb apart. I'll put some ethanol into a small bottle, like Musty One does. And then I'm going to test the idle, because the thing is, it's running just fine at 3/4 and up, but it's got no idle and it's very lumpy. It's got a huge flat spot right off idle that makes it kind of difficult to get moving. So hopefully with this properly sized jet, because the other one that I had was way too big, it was like a 60 or something. Because the problem with ethanol bikes here in Brazil is that they're always way too lean on idle. They run absolutely fantastic. I mean, you can get 20 horsepower out of a 160 bike, which, mind you, only the 250 and up can do that kind of horsepower. So being able to do that on a 160 is absolutely fantastic. I mean, I will have to be cautious with the temperature. That's why I even have that thermometer in there. It's exactly because of that, so that I can monitor the temperature. But it hasn't overheated. It hasn't even gone past 130 Celsius, even when I'm using it on gas. Yes, I am still running it on gasoline with 1175 to 1 of compression ratio, which is too dangerous. And it will destroy this engine eventually. It still runs, it runs good. It's making about 17 horsepower, 16 to 17 horsepower, but it's just not ideal. It will destroy this engine. So let's go ahead, we'll take apart the carb, and then I'll be back. Right, so this is the Honda CG's carburetor. That's what it looks like. It's a K&N 22 millimeter. Yes, I am using a 22 millimeter carb for a 160 engine that can turn all the way up to 11,000 RPM. So on this carb we have two jets. We have the main jet and the pilot jet. So this is the pilot jet, this is the main jet. All we're going to do is replace them. The reason why I'm not rejetting these is because it's a risky thing. For one. For two, you are messing with your stock original jets. These are the original Honda jets, and I wouldn't want to touch these at all. So, now we're going to get the main jet, which is a 125, It's about 30% bigger than the stock one, which I have, which is a 95. And we have this 48. For 30%, this would have to be a 49.4, but we're going with 48 because that's the biggest one that I can find. And I really don't want to drill this the jet, because simply nothing can drill a fucking idle jet. It's just way too small. So let's just make sure this is nice in here. And we're done. So we'll just close this off. As with anything that has to be sealed, you shouldn't, or you should never, tighten each one of them all at once to their maximum torque. So for example, you go to the first screw and you torque it to the max, you turn it the most you can, and then you go to the second one, you turn it the most you can. You should never do that, because otherwise it's not going to seal. So what you should do first is just seat the screws, and then you start torquing them, applying more pressure each time you turn. Each time you go over them, just basically torquing them. That will make sure that you have a good seal on all sides of the carb. That has worked for me more than once. That's why I always do it. This screw got seized up, so I can't use it. Too bad. And the choke assembly, the choke linkage doesn't really work. This would be closed, but it only opens the linkage instead of closing it. So that really sucks. But we're all done. First I will reinstall it. So let's go ahead. First I will put the actual fuel line in there, if I can find it. We'll install it, and we'll see how it works. Well, it kind of wants to run, but we got one problem. The fuel screw broke. Hey! It didn't break inside the car, but it's enough that I can't actually tune it on ethanol. It was running fine on gasoline like this. Just normal. But now it just doesn't want to run properly without me fixing this. So I'll have to go out and buy myself a new fuel screw. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to tune the bike properly, and that's a huge problem, isn't it? Here, I'll show you how it runs right now. No matter what position this fuel screw is in, no matter what position, this is how it runs. It wants to go just fine, but the idle is varying way too much. I'm not touching the throttle. I'm just letting it be. Well, it doesn't want to die now, but it was wanting to die earlier. The engine is at 67 degrees Celsius, which is almost close to its proper working temperature. It's pretty much up there. It's not going to complain by being at this temperature. The problem is the idle is it's not hunting, but it's unstable. And I just noticed that it's a real tad lean, so we'll go ahead and change that. So I'll have to go out and buy myself a new fuel screw. The thing is, I'll have to undo everything that I just did. I will have to take out the 2 jets, put back the gasoline jets, go out, get the freaking fuel screw, come back, take it apart once again, put the two ones in there, and hope that this is the problem that I'm facing, that it's going to run fine once I finally put the screw in there. So we are right now on our way to a parts shop to get a new mixer screw. But you could clearly hear the flat spot that it's got in there. And at this time it's going to be horrible. Yeah, that's the flat spot. Hear that? Fucking hell. Yeah, in this city you kind of have to be prepared for everything. Otherwise you're gonna get killed. It's incredible. Right, so I got the new fuel screw installed. This is what the old one used to look like. It's got a very thin needle on it that has broken off on this one. So I have already adjusted the idle on gasoline. But unfortunately we will have to take this apart and test it on ethanol once again. Let's fucking go. I'm sorry about the quality of this next segment. The main reason is I broke my other phone. I broke the 5S. So I will send it to be fixed today. But I've been having at this ethanol thing for a few days now, I think 2 or 3. And it's running fine. The thing that I needed the most was a high flow petcock. So I found one. The thing is, finding a sphere valve that has a 3/8 thread was a pain in the ass, and it was pretty much, yeah, it was very expensive once I found it. But I found it, it's installed, it works just fine, and I'm gonna try to record a vlog showing you how the bike runs on ethanol. So may I present to you the Honda CG Fan 160 2005 on E100 on pure ethanol. By the way, this is going to be the first startup of the day, so let's see how she fares. It's pretty hot outside, but where the bike is sitting right now, it's about, what, 70 something, 72, 78? So it's not that hot. So the tap's open, and let's kick it, see what she does. Nope. This is just like an old 2-stroke. Once you start it, when it's cold, you can't give it throttle, otherwise it wants to die. As you can see, once it warms up in the slightest, the idle picks up speed, and then from there it warms up pretty quickly. So I'll let her warm up, and then we'll go out for a ride. Just this valve guide I have to change. Please close. And when the oil is cold, the gearbox actually gets quite stiff. You can actually feel the dogs engaging. It's quite unnerving. I will tell you, for a 160, I mean, it's a very low displacement bike when you think about it. Very low displacement. Ah, fuck, why do you have to be there, piece of shit? Come on! I just want to get the fuck out. But this turned mainly into a mid-high bike. I mean, it doesn't really have that much torque. When you give it hand, it takes a while to take up speed. I mean, not that the original bike had a whole lot of torque. Yep, sometimes the exhaust does pop, and it's cool. It's unbelievable what this bike was. Unbelievable. But at this time on this street, I'm gonna have a hard time. I hate this street because of it. It's hard to cross it. Unbelievably hard to cross it. Most of the time. That's how I rule. Fucking clutch, man. This bike has two personalities. One when it's cold and one when it's hot. The gearbox and clutch behave completely differently when the bike is cold and when the bike is hot. What the hell? At least it stopped drying the float bowl because of the new high flow petcock I've installed. Fucking hell. that's the thing I was talking about. Sometimes we get these exhaust pops because the mixture it's still a tad lean. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. So we are at 85 already. I mean, this is not really a petcock, it's just a fucking valve. I hope it lasts. I mean, it's just alcohol anyway. If it was gas, probably we would have a problem, but it's... Holy crap! Look at this! Holy... Why do you have to stop right at the fucking... Fucking hell. É outra no álcool!
Ele, boa!
Tá no álcool, rapaz, só que a minha senta ainda. Pega! That's how it runs. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time. It still needs a tad of tuning, but not much. So, see you guys later. Take care.